Starting a business begins with a spark. Growing a business requires a flame. Now, how do you get that flame going? So joining me today is Justin Breen. He started a new business several years ago, and he's going to share with us how that all started and what he's doing to grow the business. So Justin, welcome to the morebusiness.com podcast.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here. Very grateful for that, and I'm excited to see where this conversation goes.
Let's talk about your starting of your business. So you've got a business. Let's maybe you could just share a bit about what it does, the name, and a little bit of the background about the company.
Sure. So, for this show's purposes, so technically I have two companies, run two companies now, but you want to talk about how the first company started. So that company is called Brepic Communications. That was started April 16th, 2017, 6 days after turning 40, with zero business background, and was a journalist for 20 years and created an entire first company based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. So I don't actually know what PR firms do. They just bothered me. So created a solution to that with zero business background.
Well, that's interesting. So what was that spark? Was it that you were just frustrated by working with PR agencies and you wanted to do something different?
Well, so thank you for that question. So most of my day is with my family or talking to and connecting with the world's top visionary entrepreneurs. Most of them have ADD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. It's not a disorder. It's a sign of genius mislabeled by humans. And then my brain turns everything into patterns. Most of my day is listening, and then, oh, here's the pattern, and then you focus on the pattern and answer. And then there are four things that separate visionaries from humans, business owners, consultants. Only four. Only four. One, bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy. Two, depression. Three, highest level of anxiety that you can imagine. Four, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So for humans, business owners, consultants, those are excuses. And then for visionary, figure it out. So started first company. I'll give you the timeline. So February 10th, 2017, had a meeting with company's owner and managing editor. They cut job salary in half. They terminated two other folks that day, and they saved my job, but they cut the job salary in half. So I tried to find a job, couldn't find a job. Incorporated 6 days after turning 40. With that, when our sons at the time were 2 and 4, had a pretty expensive mortgage in the northern suburbs of Chicago. And so while I was working full-time at half salary, over 6 weeks, reached out to 5,000 people to find first 5 clients. Again, with zero business background. I still don't know what an S Corp is. I didn't know you had to pay taxes 4 times a year. That's business owner stuff that I don't really care about. Never have, never will. Then got 5th client, I think it was June 1st, resigned June 2nd, and then at the time, he's since retired, but at the time, Robert Feeder was the top media columnist in the Midwest. He did a story I'd started my firm. So that was just the start first company. Most people, they're not equipped like that. They use the 4 things as excuses, but entrepreneur visionary, you figure it out.
So you said you reached out to 5,000 people. Can you describe what that was like? Presumed by email? And how did you get the emails?
Well, it's a fair question. So as a journalist, I was an entrepreneur who happened to be a journalist for 20 years, so I didn't know that until starting first company, but I had a very large following. Now it's a large following, but it's a different type of following. But yeah, I reached out to basically every contact I had, whether it was text message, email, Facebook message, LinkedIn message, Twitter direct message, Instagram message.
And what did you say to them?
So it's really interesting. I don't really think about this stuff anymore, but it's good to know where you come from, right? But every now and then I'll see like a LinkedIn contact and I'll send him a message, and then I hadn't sent them a message in the last 6.5 years. So the previous message was when I was reaching out to them after job salary was cut in half. So the message during that time, and again, and at my job, no one knew I was doing this. So I was doing this like, and I didn't want to create a conflict of interest, but so like I was reaching out saying, hey, do you need any help with anything like social media, press releases? Even though I created an entire company based on how press releases annoyed me, but like I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just doing anything I guess that you would think of for
Mhm.
what PR firms do, and then you know if you reach out to enough people, some will bite, and I was very grateful for that. Always very grateful for the first 5 partners that we
Uh,
had.
How long did it take you? So you started sending 5,000 emails out,
6 weeks.
contact it,
6 weeks. 6
six
weeks.
weeks, and you got your first 5 clients.
Well, I'm an act.
Mm.
So yeah. So most people aren't born like that. That's my point. So my litmus test is my father. He was 61 when I was born. He was shot down multiple times in combat in World War II, many times without a parachute, and got back into another plane. So most people, they're not. They make excuses. But a visionary entrepreneur, no excuses. Figure it out. So while I think most people would say, "Oh, 6 weeks is fast for me," no, I'm like, why didn't I do that faster? So
I understand what you're saying because I think, when your back's to the wall, you've got kids to feed, you've got a big mortgage, and at that age, there's time demands and so on. So you've got to be as efficient as possible with the time that
yep,
you have to
yep.
acquire those clients. And so what happened next? You got those first 5 clients. How did you then start to blossom beyond that first 6 weeks? What were the next steps?
Well, thank you. One of the chapters in the first book I wrote, which came out right in the heart of COVID. I'm very grateful. Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference, wrote the foreword. I'm very grateful for that. One of the chapters in that book is when you start a business, it takes 2 full years to really figure it out. Um, and so after that first 6 weeks, after I resigned, and then really had no idea what I was doing, it didn't really click until that 2 year mark. And I guess I'll explain the best lessons I learned in those first 2 years. In the first 2 years, one, only partner with folks who look at things as investments, not costs. So certainly in the first year, almost everyone I talk to asks, what do you cost or charge? Now, if anyone asks that, I never talk to them anymore because they're not a visionary. They're a business owner, small business owner. They don't look at things in a visionary investment of
I
money
love what you
funds.
just said there, Justin, because that's such a key element
That's
in
number one.
how you view a company and how you view the potential that you have to grow is when you look at what your
Well, you're a
quote unquote.
visionary. You're not a business owner. You're helping
Well,
business owners, but you're a visionary.
I've
Yeah.
built a few, and when you look at it as an investment, the difference between an investment and expense is an investment has ROI, plain and simple. And
Yeah, well, so
so,
I'll double
yeah,
down on that. So a traditional business owner looks at ROI in terms of revenue or employee count or office space. I just talk to visionaries all day. ROI for me is spending time with my family, and then connecting visionaries to serve humanity. So I never think about the financial aspects of it, at least not anymore. I used to. And so there's a beyond. So ROI to me is spending time with my family and then connecting visionaries to serve humanity. And the byproduct is, I'm constantly getting introduced to top people on planet. But in
yeah.
terms of the first 2 years, because that's what you're focused on, that's fine. I appreciate that. The process wasn't down yet. And then at the 2 year mark, I really started to hear more, what does an investment with you look like? And here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. Because I raised rates exponentially to eliminate people that ask, what do you cost or charge? And I found the less
Yeah.
people pay you, the more problems that they cause.
That's what I've found my entire career is that the lowest paying customers are always the ones that require the most amount of attention, work,
Yeah.
and are the ones that are oftentimes the highest at risk for churning. Whereas the people that are paying a lot of money is just like, here's a check, let's get started.
Yeah, they don't care. Right.
It's
So I just
yeah.
kept raising rates. I had a really interesting thing happen. Um, you know what? And I'll even land the plane, which I don't like to do. But I think it's important for your audience because there's probably many of them are starting out. And frankly, most of them aren't visionaries because people like me are maybe 1 out of 1,000 humans. I mean, probably less than that, but Again, I think you're either born like this or not. But so right before COVID started, there was someone who wanted to hire the PR firm. And I guess the PR firm is paid per story generation and then sending to media. So at the time, 2019, it was 4,000 minimum per story. Okay. I'm like, okay. So then COVID happened, and this was like a wedding venue place or whatever. So there wasn't a good idea to continue. And so he reached out a couple weeks ago saying, "Hey, I'm ready to start doing this." I'm like, "Okay, well that's great. Just so you know, the investment has gone up to 30K minimum per story." And he goes, "Wait, $30,000?" I go, "Yeah, we only partner with Visionaries Changing the World now." He's like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm not a visionary then." And then he just hung up. So like, it was 4 years, it was pre-COVID, and then the visionary would use COVID as the greatest opportunity of all time for those with the right mindset, which is what it's been. And then the small business owner, consultant, or human, they never evolved. So I'm the same person, meaning like we live in the same house, our kids are older. They still go to school here and all that, but there was a mindset evolution, and there was none on the other side, even though it was the same exact amount of time. So I thought that was a really interesting thing that happened.
How long did it take you to go from your initial pricing of $4,000 to $30,000? Over what period of time?
Yep. Okay. So that was 2019. Start of 2020, it was 10,000 minimum. Again, 2 years it takes to figure it out. 2021, it was 20,000 minimum, and then 2022, it was 30,000 minimum.
So did you go from 4,000 to 10,000 in that 1 year period
Yes.
from 2019 to? So that's more than doubling your rates. And
Yeah,
what
but why?
happened to the?
Right.
Right. So I think this is a very interesting story. What happened when you raised those rates? What
Great
happened to
question. I'll tell you exactly. Okay, so my whole life, and apologize if you hear the dogs, but so my whole life is seeing the patterns in life, and then more importantly, knowing the patterns, you create your own patterns. Okay, when you create your own patterns, the business owner never will create their own patterns. The visionary will. The business owner will look at expenses and whatever revenue or office space, whatever the transactional stuff. The visionary will see the patterns and create the patterns, which is super interesting. So this is the pattern that I've seen over and over and over. Okay, so rate, and by the way, I talk about this in both books, the Epic Business and Epic Life book. But so when you raise rates, one, humans, business owners, consultants laugh and say, "Who would pay for that?" That's one that happens. Two, the visionaries are really excited because they want to be around people because visionaries are confident. They want to be around them. So it's less folks at first, but they're investing more, so you're actually making, and my whole life is profit, not revenue, so far more profit. And then the folks that are investing more, they hang out with people that are investing more, so they introduce you to people who are investing more.
Mm-hmm.
It's smaller at first, but you're making more profit, and then it exponentially grows. And then you just keep raising your rates because then it eliminates those that don't think is at high level, and then it attracts more folks. So it's a very interesting pattern, and that's just how it is.
When you did that initial raise, did you have a certain number of clients that just said, "Oh, I am now priced out," and then another percentage that said, "Oh, okay, I'm fine with it because they keep paying you"?
Okay,
How did that
so
work
you're a
out?
data. Okay, thank you for asking that. You're a data processor. I don't think like that at all. I've never cared about that stuff. I just don't. So all I care about, I've never cared about business owner stuff. All I want to do is spend time with my family and connect visionaries to serve humanity. So the first couple of years, I was, I guess, acting like a business owner, and it was confusing to me because I'm not a business owner. So percentages, I have no idea. I just know that the company was far more profitable, and it eliminated business owners and it attracted visionaries. So that's all I really cared about because I was never a business owner, even though first couple of years, which is fine. You kind of have to, you have to build a company. So I just had to learn that over those 2 years that I was never a business owner, even though I kind of had to act like one to build a business, which is totally fine. But again, the person I talked to from 2019 and then now, he never evolved. And then you can evolve. You can evolve.
So where do you want to take the business now?
Oh, so okay. So thank you. I appreciate that question. That is a visionary. Here's how a visionary thinks, and I'll respond to that as a visionary. I don't live in futuristic world. Earl Nightingale is my favorite. He's my favorite. He's the OG of motivational speakers. And my favorite quote of his is he started recording right when audio recording started. For those who don't know who that is. But my favorite quote of his is, "Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal." Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And my worthy ideal is hanging out with my family and connecting visionaries to serve humanity. So that's all I do every day. My partner for second company, he does 8 and 9 figure deals all day. He's a pure visionary. He does all the backstage stuff. My wife never thought this would happen, but she's phasing out of pediatrics. She's the COO of the company, which I guess is technically a mastermind. We're about to be named one of top 5 masterminds on planet because it's only for connecting visionaries to serve humanity. But I don't think what the company will become. I think about spending time with my family and connecting visionaries, and all this business owner stuff I found takes care of itself because I'm focused on what I like to do and what I'm good at.
How does it take care of itself? What happens? Because you still have to pay taxes. You still have to, if you have staff, you got to pay payroll.
Okay, all right. You're a relator to your audience. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. So yes, you do have to pay taxes. You have to pay a lot, by the way.
The more you make, the more you got to pay. But
it was funny because I wrote, I'll land the plane. So last quarter, I wrote a check to the government that was more than I'd ever made in 1 year as a journalist in taxes. But I thought that was funny. But no, yes, there's a couple things like that you have to do, but for the most part, I never think about it. I don't. That's for other people to do.
Okay, so you have people on your team that will actually manage all that. So that's good. I mean, it's important because you're leveraging. A
visionary needs humans to help. If everyone was like me, it'd be anarchy, chaos. So. Yeah.
I think there's this concept of making sure that you've got the right people on your team to be able to handle the stuff that just sort of needs to happen to make sure that the trains are running on time, and then that leaves you up to do what you do best, which would be the more creative thinking and in your words, connecting people. So what does that mean to you to connect visionaries with each other to help humanity? Give me an example of what that looks like.
Yeah. Okay. So we had our latest. Our company's called Brepic Network. So we had our latest meeting a couple days ago. And one of our members, who's a pure visionary, she has created a company that basically is collecting the world's top experts, and folks invest in meeting them, time for meeting them. So if she it's called Pick My Brain. So you have these folks that join it, and then let's say you want an hour someone's time, it's $1,000 or something, whatever that is. Okay. So she's wanting to raise 7 figures. And one of our other members, who's in the room, she's one of the top investors in the U.S. For female-led businesses that are heart-focused. Purpose focused. And so she heard her presentation. She's like, "Oh, I'm very interested in investing that, and I know 6 of the top investors that are my friends that would be good investors." So my partner, again, who does 8, 9 figure deals all day, his name's Mark Fujiwara. He's like a gatekeeper for 150 family office type folks, which I know nothing about that stuff. He describes it as having a very heavy gate of entry into the room. But when it's the right people in the room, those type of things magically, but it's not really magic. It's just years of learning who's the right fit and then who's the wrong fit, and then you just allow the right fit into the room. So I think that was the most valuable lesson of the first 2 years of starting the first company, is one, knowing I was not a business owner, never was, I didn't understand it, but you had to go through it. And then 2, really starting to figure out maybe the initial stages of who was a visionary and who wasn't. So that was the value of the first 2 years.
And do you still do the work that you had started out back when you built your company back
Yes,
in 2019?
yes, yes.
Okay. And how does that connect with all of the people that you?
Tremendous. Wow, that is such a great question. And it's a profound answer. It's a profound answer. Hold on. I'm going to read it to you because this is why, this is how a visionary brain works. So let me find it. Okay. So again, Epic Business, Chris Voss, he wrote the forward, right? So, okay. So, and his company's called the Black Swan Group. So, this is his forward. So, like the success of the Black Swan Group, Brepic is doing the same thing with its approach to public relations and building real relationships with a global network. Global network. This is before Brepic Network even existed that this book came out. So literally, my second company was written in the forward in the first book. So it's unbelievably fascinating by writing it down, creating something out of it, a key, then that's what it magically becomes. And now I will double down on the double downing. So Epic Life, it's just the second book. Very grateful that Dr. Peter Diamandis wrote the foreword. He's one of the top entrepreneurs in the world, X Prize Singularity University. Very grateful for that. That book is about how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. Again, how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. That book came out in 2022, was written and came out before my wife decided to phase out of pediatrics and become COO of Brepic Network. So literally that book showed how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. And my most important loved one, like I love my children, they're great, but I love my wife way more. And they know that, by the way. But she literally became part of the company, the key part. So it's super fascinating, again, seeing those patterns and creating them, and then other people will see the pattern and create something with it or join. And I'm just endlessly amazed by finding those patterns and doing something with it.
Can you describe what your ideal client looks like? What would be
Not a
your ideal
client,
client?
no. No. So one, they're
Okay.
not clients, they're partners. So
Okay.
that's
So what?
another interesting thing that you just said. I was on a show similar, and they noticed in the Epic Life book that the first couple chapters it said the word client, and then around chapter 5, the host was like, "Well, you started calling them partners." I'm like, "Yep, that's so interesting." And that's why I like doing these shows, because you learn in real time. I don't like preparing for them. I'm not an over preparer. I like to listen and then learn in real time. So there's no clients. It's only partnerships. It's only collaborations. No competition, only collaboration.
Mhm.
Um, what I will say, if this is helpful, um, I would say 80 to 90% of the people that we partner with are millionaires or multimillionaires. And the only reason I mention that is because my favorite quote about money is from Dr. Peter Diamandis, and he describes it as money is energy. So these folks have the energy to actually create something. And, 10 to 20%, they don't have the actual money yet, but they'll do whatever it takes. They'll get back into a plane like my dad after it was shot down. They'll get back into another one, even if they weren't wearing a parachute. And that's what separates visionaries from everyone else.
So when you say partner, these are people that are like paying some sort of investment to become part of this network. Is that correct?
That's correct. Absolutely.
Okay. And so what are the benefits that they get from being part of this network?
Well, I just described that situation where a person who's looking
Uh,
for 7 figures in funding immediately met someone who can help her do that. So,
what are some of the other examples, use cases, or stories that you might be able to share with our audience about
can I get this on my phone? Because I'm here. Hold on. Let me see if I can. This is gonna. Will this close it off? Did that just close it off or no?
well, your video went dark, but we're still on audio,
All
and I
right,
think a
good.
lot of
Well,
people
good.
listen.
All right, good. So I'm gonna read it. This is from one of our members. Hold on. Yeah, because I don't like. I gotta find it. Oh wait, hold on. I can find it. Yeah, because these people say it better than I do. And then my wife's the detail person. Okay, here we go. Okay, Hi, Blink. Nice to meet you. Not sure what evidence your team needs or what industry you're in, but here's some things I can share with you and your team. I can share about the clients, now this is their word, not mine, about the clients I've gotten from the network that instantly say yes to working with me because it solves their needs, not because I had to sell them. The 5 to 7 referrals a week I get from the network, the business practices that I've learned and already adopted and changed my whole clientele, with which has increased my pricing value and made my life a lot better. I can share about the network itself and the doctors that are changing the game, the owners of the 500 plus employee companies I've learned from, the publishers with the unlimited best-selling authors, the franchise owners with 30 plus locations, and the podcasts that are passed around. So that's from one of our members, but that's better that they say than there I'm back here.
It's always better to hear exactly from the people who are investing in you, and to get what their view on the value is. Very good.
Yeah, right.
What would you recommend to someone who is starting out, back like you were several years ago?
Yes.
What would you recommend as their first 6 months? How would you paint that picture for them?
Okay. Let me slow down for once in my life, and I'm really going to think about that. First 6 months. Okay. The number one thing, and I kind of already said this already, but this is really important, is that 6 months is not even close to enough time to really figure out what's going on. It's not 6 months, it's not a year, it's not 18 months, it's a full 2 years. I've been on shows like this where the hosts have said, wow, you did that all in 2 years. It actually usually takes much longer. So really understanding that time frame of what this actually is that 6 months is, I mean, it's just not even close to enough time. Also,
what would you recommend as someone tries to sort through all of the experiences that they would have in those first couple of years, and how would they filter out what they should continue to do, stop doing, or start doing based on those?
Great. Okay, great. These are very valuable. They're very valuable. And it's interesting with your brain because you have a deep wanting to help folks who are starting. It's very smart. It's very smart and very kind and very kind. Something. Okay, let me slow down. You've got me to slow down twice now. Very impressive. So, one, this is my second favorite pattern, but one is I keep making bigger investments to be in smaller rooms, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impact. That allows me to spend biggest investment in smallest room, which is my family, where I can make the most impact. So first 6 months or 2 years or years, make investments to be in rooms, networking rooms, masterminds, chambers of commerce. The first group I was ever in was $250 a year. I'm still in that room because loyal. Now I invest well over $100,000 a year US to be in rooms, because again, it's the same formula. And then started on high price invite only connectivity platform where it's currently 10K and we're about to raise it to 15K, and it'll go way up for that because it's much higher quality than that value, but you have to start, right? You have to start. So join networking rooms, not only to find out who would be good collaborators, but more importantly, if you're someone like me, find out that most of these people have no idea what you're talking about and they're not visionaries. So find your tribe. Okay, so that's one. Two, which is favorite pattern, is right mindset attracts right network and creates right opportunities. I will say it slower. Right mindset attracts right network, creates right opportunities. So I feel you're either born top visionary on planet or you're not. I'm strongly convinced of that. I think most people would want this life, but they use those four things: bankruptcy, potential bankruptcy, depression, anxiety, traumas, child, young adult. They use those as excuses. Visionary figure out. So you're either born like that or you're not. If you are, you can work on your mindset every single day. You can work on, and then we partner only with visionaries who live in abundance and who look at things as investments, not costs. So there's no scarcity, no excuses, no excuses. We've partnered with multiple billionaires, multiple 9-figure, multiple gajillionaires, and I think with the PR firm, in 6.5 years, I think 10 people that have been dirt broke, but they found a way to make the investment, create that energy. And then most of our members in the Brepic network are millionaires, multimillionaires, but there's a few that they will be that because they want to hang out with people like that and they want to connect other visionaries to serve humanity, and they know they need the energy to do that.
When you were building your business,
Yeah.
where you are now isn't where you started,
It is.
and
It's lit. Oh, location wise, it is. This is my house.
okay, location wise, yes, but what I mean is, you didn't know when you started, you didn't when you were sending out those 5,000
No,
communiques to people, you had
no,
no idea
didn't
that
know anything.
in several years this is going to turn into something completely different, and so it
Right.
morphed along the way, right? So what kind of signals did you look for as you saw it starting to evolve?
You have such a really interesting engineering brain. You can like engineer each step. Really fascinating. What steps did I notice? Okay. So the only thing I write down before I meet someone, there are only two things I write down. One is their name. The other is their Kolbe score. Kolbe. It's Kolbe.com A index. It's not your personality. I don't care what your personality is. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care about any of that stuff. That's business owner stuff. I want to know if you're going to take action. And Kolbe, for me, has been the best way, the best signal, the best indicator of identifying someone who's a visionary and someone who isn't. Because I just want the pattern so I can, here's the answer, connect the pattern to the answer. So there are exceptions. I think you're an exception. Oh, I know I can hear it. So the overwhelming majority of visionaries, overwhelming majority, are high quick start. That's idea, 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 shiny object, shiny object, shiny object, shiny object. And then they have little to no follow through. So they're all over the place. They're ADD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. It's not a disorder. It's a sign of genius mislabeled by humans. And then without hiring humans or technicians or whatever that is to do stuff for them, total disaster. I am the very, 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 very rare visionary that has high quick start, boom, 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 and high follow through. So it's hit the gas, pump the brakes, hit the gas, pump the brakes, hit the gas, pump the brakes. Say it, do it. Say it. It doesn't get handed off to 3,000 people. It just gets executed. And that was certainly the case with the first company. With the second company, I cannot build a SaaS platform. I would electrocute myself. I can barely hold a pencil right. So I had to find a partner who's an even bigger visionary than I am, who is Mark. And then we both needed an integrator, which turned out to be my wife, who does all the backstage pure harmony relationships. It's beautiful to watch. And then they found the developers. I don't do any of that stuff. My wife just made her first hire, hired an assistant, and then I just stay in my zone of genius.
So let me circle back to that, the thought behind my question. Can you give some specific examples of something that happened those first couple of years that said, I think I need to double down on that? Give me an example of something like that.
Oh man, Okay, these are great questions. Usually landing the plane questions annoy me, but these are good ones. So, because it makes me think about where the answer was, how you found the answer.
I think your story can inspire lots of other people to say, "Oh, I recognize that pattern in myself." You mentioned you're into patterns. So.
Thank you for saying that. Inspiration is fine. I appreciate that. A true visionary won't need it. They will just do it. They will. So me inspiring people, if they actually do something with it, great. But most people, they're inspired and they never do anything. They're like sitting off in the stands watching and they're not doing anything. I don't know. I've never understood that. There was someone who posted on social media today. I posted something and she wrote like, "Oh, I'm really will be watching you from afar while you're doing this." I'm like, "Well, why wouldn't you want to be a part of that?" It's confusing to me, but that's most people. They're watching. So inspiration is great, but if you don't do anything, don't do anything. So to answer your question, when I started really looking at Kolbe, again, KOLB, that was like 2019, right at the start of 2020. And I started to see the pattern emerge that the higher quick start, lower follow throughs. And what high quick start means is you're not afraid of risk. I didn't know that until, like, again, you asked the question. I learned that. And then I found that most of them had little to no follow through. So they needed someone like me who has high quick start, who can keep up with them, and high follow through, can follow through. So it's like an integrating visionary. And they were, so they're rare in human world. In my world, that's the average. It's most people I talk to have ADD. And so it wasn't just that they were a number in Kolbe, because like Kolbe describes people as numbers, a 4-number score, but that they were grateful. They were grateful to invest large amounts of money in what the PR firm did, and then certainly within the Brepic network. The average quick start of a Brepic network member is like a 3393, or a 9 quick start. In human world, that's very rare. 10 is the highest. In my world, network world, it's like the average. So they were grateful for it. And just as important, they wanted to talk to other high quick starts because they could help them quickly get stuff done. And then almost all of these people had teams of humans, integrators helping them. So I think that's the main pattern in terms of that I noticed. And I see the world in numbers and keywords. So Kolbe for sure, and then Gallup, Clifton, Strength Finders, GALUP. Almost everyone I talk to is an ideator futurist with a mix of activator, maximizer, achiever. So they're often idea future world, but they'll do something about it now. If you're off in idea world and you don't do anything, that's it. One, that sounds like a horrible life, but two, it's illogical. And then I'm very low in ideation, almost dead last in Strength Finders. But if I hear a great idea from an ideator who's just rambling with ADD, I'll know right away it's a great idea. And then my top 3 are activate, maximize, achieve. So I hear blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, 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 yes. And then connect the yes to the yes. And then just keep creating those patterns.
Can you share some examples of this process?
Well, the Brepic network is literally, that's literally what the company is, man. You need all these. You need to talk to my wife about this. She's the detail person.
Well, there are a lot of details needed in a business too to get it to grow.
Not in my world. But that's my point. I don't think about that stuff. I don't like doing details. Okay. So a 10 quick start is 1 out of 200 humans. 1 out of 200. That's the highest. In my world, it's 1 out of 8 or 9, and we have about 40 members in Brepic Network as of this recording. 4 of them are 10 quick starts. So you might go your whole life not seeing a 10 quick start. You just might not. So, but in my world, it's like 1 out of 8, 9 conversations. So those are the people. And then again, in our network, we have 3 people under a 7 quick start. Only 3. And they wouldn't have joined if it was me doing the onboarding, because I wouldn't have had the patience, but my wife does.
How would you recommend people who are starting to see that they're capable of a lot more than they initially thought?
Write the check. Write the check. How would you write the check?
How would you recommend someone who's starting to see that they are a visionary? Because sometimes we're not always aware of that growing up, and sometimes it takes incidences, experiences to realize that you actually are. When you start to recognize that, how do you recommend people foster and nurture that in themselves so that it truly blossoms?
Big check, smaller room, bigger impact. Bigger check, smaller room. It's the same formula.
Hang around the people. Yeah, hang around the people that are the kind that you want to, that are going to be able to accelerate you, right?
Right. So a business owner or a human or a consultant won't write the check. They won't do it because they're their own preventer, limiter. A visionary will gladly write the check because they want to be around. That's my whole point. So, and then you just create your own room. You write the check. That's what it. And I just do not understand anyone who makes an excuse. I've never understood it. It's confusing to me. And that's what visionaries never, one of our PR partners, this is not a typical story, but this is a good example. His grandfather was decapitated in front of him in Burma. He went to Hong Kong. Oh, I'm giving you details now. Wow. Oh, you got me to do it. So then, he and his dad went to Hong Kong when he was a kid. They had $10 in their pocket. He created two 8-figure companies, and he hired PR firm. He hired PR firm because he created an at-home robot for people with Alzheimer's dementia, because his mom has Alzheimer's dementia, and the robot has like a pill dispenser and I don't know, like a drone on it or something, and it talks to people. So like that's a vision. I mean, that's what it. We've had other partners whose like a co-founder died in a fire, and it was just he read the eulogy at the funeral. And then he had a 9-figure exit. So it's like the word excuse, that doesn't, even though I just said it, doesn't exist in visionary world. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think there's a famous quote by Arnold Schwarzenegger that says, "You can have results or you can have excuses. You can't have both." And so,
Well, he's a visionary. So he's a
yeah,
visionary who happened to be a bodybuilder. He's a visionary who
yeah,
happened to be an actor, and he's a visionary who happened to be a politician. I mean, that's what it.
yeah. All right. Yeah. What's next for you, Justin? What's on the horizon? I know you
Spending
said you
time with
don't.
my family and connecting visionaries to serve humanity. I will. My wife and I are going to Necker Island. That's where Sir Richard Branson lives.
Hmm.
We're going there for it's called Rebel Dads, so it's the entrepreneur visionary dads, and most of us are bringing our spouses. That'll be fun. And then yeah, so staying in this zone of NASDAQ bell in a couple months, and I know nothing about NASDAQ or finances or stocks, so I'm going to be ringing the ringing the bell. But no, I
That is
mean,
the honor. Yes.
well, yeah, it's a like all this stuff I'm talking about. It's the byproduct of, again, like all this stuff takes care of itself with having the right mindset and the right network, because they create the opportunities for you. And then my wife and partner and their teams and her assistant and the developers, they're planning a huge in-person event for Brepic Network. That'll be May 15th through the 16th. The only thing I interjected with was I wanted a suite, a really nice suite at an Arizona Diamondbacks game, so we're going to do that. But other than that, I have no input in it at all. None. Zero.
All right. You're letting your team take care of that, the details,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not me.
Very good. All right. Justin, could you share a quick note about your books and the names, and like, because I'm sure people might listen and say, I want to learn more. What's the next
Okay.
step for them?
So thank you I think for the majority of your audience and the way you ask questions, which again, are really, really interesting, very collaborative. And thank you for getting me to think deeply. The first book, Epic Business, which again came out right in COVID. It's the subtitle is 30 Secrets to Build Your Business Exponentially and Give You the Freedom to Live the Life You Want. So that was written because everyone's like, well, how'd you build a global company with zero business background and you just do what you like to do? So that's why I wrote that. And then the second book is called Epic Life. All I do is talk to visionaries now and talk to 1 to 2 of them every single week that have let entrepreneur life destroy their family life or prevented them from having a family. So that book is how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. So, but I think for your audience, I think Epic Business would be a better read for sure.
All right. Very good. Justin, thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, this is an excellent interview. I can't wait to listen to this again.
All right. Take care.